What's up everybody, it's Charlie and I'm back. So in this video I just want to talk a little bit about the history of how I learned about same-sex attraction and transgender identities. I think it really affected how my gender identity is expressed today. I'm a non-binary person who goes by they, them pronouns. So this is my story of how I got from there to here. So I grew up in a very conservative Christian environment, so I never grew up really hearing about gender non-conforming identities or same-sex attraction at all. And if it was mentioned, it was not mentioned in a positive light. But for the most part, I don't remember it being mentioned for most of my life. So even though I was, at the time, I would say taking part in lesbian activities, I didn't know to call it that. I thought I was just making out with my friends or like flirting with girls or like practicing for boys, or I thought that all of the things that I was doing meant something else. I didn't know what to call it or that there was a name for what I was doing, which was at the time lesbian attraction. I don't think I really heard the term lesbian until the L word came out. And I heard people talking about it and I was like, what is this L word? What does that mean? What's the L word? And I looked it up and found out it was lesbians and was like, oh shit, so this is how that goes. And I found myself in that. I saw myself as someone who was female identified, who was attracted to other women. And so I started to call myself a lesbian at that time. For some reason, I thought that the term lesbian was focused on people who like lived that lifestyle. I thought it was a lifestyle choice more than anything, not an action of what you were doing. So I was like, I don't necessarily have gay friends or have a gay community around me like they do in the L word. So maybe I'm not a lesbian, maybe I'm just a person who likes experimenting with women. And I don't think it was until I actually did have other queer friends around me that I started to identify myself as a lesbian, because I was like, okay, now I'm actually living the lifestyle. That lifestyle and that label fit for me for a long time. I don't know, even though I didn't really see myself as any gender, I knew what I was assigned at birth and was like, okay, I guess I'll go with that. And the name for people who are assigned female at birth who are attracted to women is lesbian. And so I was like, okay, I'll rock with that title for a while because it seemed to fit for me. When I first learned about transgender identities, I was younger. I learned about intersex people, people who are born with not exclusively male or female genitalia. And I thought it was so cool. I really hoped and wished that I had been born intersex. I remember that being a really deep desire for me at the time, but I was like, okay, well I couldn't, so that's whatever. I didn't know that there was a way for people to actually change their gender or anything like that. So I was like, okay, that's cool for them. I wish it was me, but it's not, moving on. And it wasn't until I had been in the lesbian community and the LGBT community in general to learn that actual transgender people existed and that it was possible to go from one gender to another, or to get your genitalia changed, or to have any of these surgeries that confirm your gender identity. And so when I did find that out, I was like, okay, cool. I do identify as transgender, but I didn't know which type of transgender. I knew I obviously was not a trans woman, but was like, okay, does that mean I'm a trans man? But that never really fit for me either. I never resonated with being a trans man. And fortunately, at the time I found out about transgender people in general, I also found out about non-binary identities. And so it was an easy transition for me to go from identifying as not quite a woman, not anything, but knowing I was someone attracted to women, to being a non-binary person, and that fits so much better for me, not in the realm of male or female, but somewhere in the middle. That just fits really, really well for me. I basically was finding out what information I learned about myself and then finding out later on that there was a title to go with that. And I don't know if that's a common experience for trans people, but that's how it was for me. It was just every day taking steps to be more myself and be more and more and more and do the things that make me feel more at home in my body, like being on testosterone or getting gender affirming surgeries. All of those just felt right to me. And as I made those choices that felt right, I later found out that there were names for those: transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming. All of those just sort of came to me as I was living my life, and I think that was a really good way for me to come into my gender identity and come into my sexual identity as well. So yeah, that's what I would encourage for all of you too. I'd love to hear what you guys think of this video. As always, like and subscribe to see more like this, and I'll see you guys next week. Deuce.